Hello. Oh, my. I got a beautiful horse back here. I'm Susan Roberti, and welcome. Welcome to Let's Talk Tailwaggers. This is a repeat performance. I was here many years ago with this beautiful young lady's mom, and she took me in, and she had quite a few little ones riding, and it was a wonderful show. And she was a wonderful lady, but she has passed away with cancer. We miss her, and this young lady has decided to come back home. And your name is?
My name is Elizabeth Pagano, and I'm the owner and operator of Hunter Spring Farm in Bethel Park. So, the barn was my mom and I's. We've been here since the early 80s, and my mom taught horseback riding lessons full time. She actually got to be on the show years ago when I was a little girl, which is really cool that I now get the opportunity to talk to you with my little boy here.
Makes me feel old. Go ahead.
And it's always been my dream to run the barn full time the way that she did. It was kind of our dream to run it together, but unfortunately she passed away from cancer in 2009.
I know.
So that was very hard. So many people knew her in Bethel, and she made such an impact on many people's lives. And that was always my dream, to follow in her footsteps and do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked full-time other places. I joined the Air Force National Guard out of high school, went away for basic training and technical school, and came home. And I still serve in the Guard, the 171st in Pittsburgh, and do my one drill weekend a month. And I've worked some other jobs here and there, but really my heart's always been in teaching.
Aww.
And I taught for a while, had to take a little bit of a break, had some life issues, had a newborn son, and we took a break, and I recently made the decision to quit my job. I was working full-time as a teacher at a child care center, and I left there to come back and teach full-time. And I was so excited.
I can imagine. And Grandma was too, I bet.
Oh, everyone was so excited to see me come back and
I bet.
do what my mom had done for years.
I bet she was glad too.
Oh, I'm sure she was. She would love to see the barn like this.
Yeah.
So I kind of scheduled some lessons, did some advertising, and I had a bunch of lessons sign up. I had 20 lessons signed up for my first week back to teaching.
Oh, my Lord.
I couldn't believe the response that I got. So we signed everybody up for lessons, and I started lessons in the morning 2 weeks ago, Wednesday, June 20th.
Wow.
We had some morning lessons, had a little bit of a break in the afternoon, had some evening lessons, some new students, some older students that had been with me for a little while. We had a really great day. I took my last student for her hour-long lesson from 7:30 until 8:30 that Wednesday night. And a couple of people that had had lessons scheduled had messaged me back and said, "Oh, it's going to rain Wednesday. Is that going to affect our lessons?" I said, "Of course not. I have an indoor riding arena.
Oh, right.
It doesn't affect lessons. I teach year-round." So I didn't think anything of it other than people were telling me that there was going to be a storm. And I had my new student, one of my 6-year-old riders. She was learning how to brush and tack up her pony and get her ready.
Aww.
And she was kind of nervous working around her, so we spent some extra time brushing her and getting her comfortable working next to the pony.
Mm-hmm.
And about 7:45, a flash flood warning went off on my phone. And those happen all the time.
I know.
Those weather alert things, the crazy noises, those happen all the time.
It doesn't happen in Bethel.
Right. I was like, oh, we'll get some water. Maybe the creek will get a little high. Sometimes, because my barn's in a hill, a little bit of water will come off the hill, and I'll get, the stalls will get damp.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'll have to put some extra bedding in the stalls, no big deal. I didn't think anything of it. So I got my student on the pony, and we were riding. She was really nervous, so we spent a lot of time just talking and getting her comfortable. And we had her walking around and doing pretty well. And it started to thunder. Now, some of my horses are afraid of the thunder, but luckily my pony Dolly, she's not afraid of the thunder.
Yeah.
But it was starting to make my student nervous. The pony was picking up on that. And at 8:20, about 10 minutes early, before the lesson was supposed to end, I decided that in the interest of safety, it was better to just cut it.
Yeah, right.
So we just got off 10 minutes early, and I pulled the pony in, and we went ahead and put the pony in her stall. Now, my student's mom was parked on the opposite side of my driveway, the the opposite side of the concrete bridge from the barn. So I stayed in the barn with my student and her 1-year-old brother, and I was holding the younger one and holding her hand while their mom ran across the bridge to go and pull her car down. At that point, it was raining pretty hard. So she ran across the bridge, and as she crossed the bridge, the water was washing over the tops of her feet.
Oh, my Lord.
And she had sandals on, and I was like, oh, that poor lady, her pretty sandals.
Yeah.
And she pulled her car back down and ran the kids out to the car and got them in. And just as we were getting them in the car, the water came all the way up my creek, which is normally so shallow that my 2-year-old plays in it. He loves to play in that creek.
Oh, little boys do.
Mud and water and trucks.
Yes.
And balls.
Yes.
And horses.
Yes.
And our horses.
Yes.
So as they were starting to pull across my driveway, the water came all the way up over the bridge. And there were logs washing up over the top of the bridge. So I ran out there and I was pulling the logs off of the concrete bridge that was now up halfway up my shin in water. I was pulling the logs out because I wanted them to get out. And she floored it and got out. Hi, buddy. Hi. You want to ride? Okay. And she got out. And I ran back underneath my horse trailer, and I was standing under my horse trailer just looking. And the creek was all the way up and washed all the way over my concrete bridge. And that had never happened in my lifetime. Not even when some of the storms from some of the hurricanes blew through.
Wow.
Now, the creek will get high, but never that high. It never came over my bridge. And I was just standing there for a few minutes watching. And I was like, wow. This is crazy. The water's coming down off my hillside, down from the road, because we're kind of in a little basin here. And I'm watching the water come up, and I went, wow, I hope those stalls that are prone to flooding and heavy storms aren't flooding. And by flooding, my version of flooding was they got a little sloppy and wet.
Yeah, little damp.
A little damp. And it was harder to clean them out because everything in them got wet. The bedding in them got wet. I was like, oh, that's going to be such a pain. I'm going to have to deal with that tonight or tomorrow morning. And here I thought I was just going to have to deal with some wet stalls. So I walked back through the barn, walked across the concrete, the bare, dry concrete that we're standing on, and I walked into my indoor riding arena. Now, the very worst storms that I can ever remember, especially since I've been here on my own since 2009, right under the doors of the arena sometimes get a little, wet. A little wet, a little soggy, a couple of feet in from under the door. So I figured, it's going to be a little mucky in those corners. I'm going to have to block it off so the kids don't ride there till it dries out in a day or two. No big deal. And as I stood at the entrance to my riding arena and looked out into my arena, my whole arena looked really damp. And I thought that was really unusual.
Oh, God.
Now, I water my footing down every day so it doesn't get dusty when my students are riding. And it looked like I had just watered the arena, but I'd watered it 12 hours earlier. I was like, that's really weird. And as I watched, the water blew in from under the door.
No.
Yeah. And I watched the water blow in and come barreling past me and rushing out through my barn aisleway like a river.
Oh, my.
And I was like, what is even going on? Oh my God.
I bet.
I was like, my arena's underwater.
I bet.
And I just kind of watched. And it was 8:29. I took a video. And the video on my phone was taken at 8:29. I got my student off the pony at 8:20. 8:29 we were underwater. Which really goes to show how fast this all happened.
Well, creeks do that. Everything is fast.
Everything is fast. And apparently I wasn't the only one that got flooded. Even people not near creeks
right.
got a lot of this flooding. So we watched, and I watched for a minute or two, and then I started to think, wow, the water's coming in really hard and really fast. I wonder if I need to do something with the horses. We've never had to move horses. Sometimes if one stall's wet, I'll move them to a different stall, but I wasn't that worried about it until I started watching the arena and the barn fill up.
Oh, my God.
So I walked into the barn, and all of my stalls, they have a little, lip from the concrete. The lip of the stalls, they're a little higher up. And as I walked back through, the water came up over that lip and started pouring into the stalls. So now my stalls weren't just a little wet. The horses were standing in water. And I watched for a minute or two. It must be a good life to be a tiny cowboy on a farm.
Oh, I bet.
Must be a fun way to be a 2-year-old boy.
Well,
and grow
you
up.
were little.
It was the best childhood.
Yes.
But I watched the stalls fill up, and I was kind of in shock. I'd never experienced that before. I called my dad, my stepdad, and I was like, Alex, what do I do? Like, what should I do? The horses are standing in water, the barn's filling up. And he was like, calm down, it's not that bad. The same thing that we all thought.
Here, right.
The same thing that we all thought. Our barn never floods. My parents built this barn. In the history of it being here, it's never flooded. So we weren't really worried about it.
Oh, my.
So, of course, I'm calling everybody. Oh, my gosh, the barn's flooding. And they're like, oh, calm down. Everybody's telling me to calm down. Like, I'm overreacting.
Yeah.
I was like, really, guys?
I'm up to my ankles in water.
And the water kind of went higher and higher. And at some points, the lower points in the barn, it was up to my knees. And the rain was still coming down really hard. And I called down Chase's dad. He and Chase walked down from the house, and we were standing here, and he kind of didn't believe me either. I was like, I think we need to get the horses out. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, the stalls are going to be wet. It'll be all right. And I was like, no, really? I really think we need to get the horses out. Yeah, you're going to ride Dolly, I promise. So he comes down with Chase in tow and walks through the barn, and he's shocked because we're standing almost up to our knees. And we walk into our riding arena, and my 2-year-old looks around and goes, swimming pool, Mommy, go swimming.
No. Oh. And what were the horses doing?
All of them but one were afraid. The one really likes to go swimming.
Yeah.
So he was playing with the water in his stall. But the rest of them were scared. A couple of them were whinnying and talking. And I decided at that point, because of how hard the water was still coming down, we should probably get them out in case the water continued to rise. So my horse trailer was stuck. I couldn't get it across my bridge because I couldn't even see where the bridge was.
Oh, God.
So I called.
This gets scarier as you go.
It does, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a plan for something like this. And I called a friend of mine who has a horse at another barn in the South Hills. And I said, Jen, I think I gotta get my horses out. Like, I think I need some help. And Jen made it down here, and her daughter watched my son and her younger daughter while she and I started pulling the horses. And we started making phone calls. And luckily, 2 of the barns down the road, also on stilts, said that they had empty stalls and that we could bring our horses.
How nice.
It was wonderful. So we took the first 4 to the first barn to South Park Stables that had some room for us.
Now, did you walk them?
We had to walk them. We had to walk them through the dark, through the thunderstorm.
Oh, my.
And I was afraid that the horses were going to...
Brave.
Yeah, we're really going to have some issues. But luckily, all of the horses here trusted us enough that, and we've done enough training with them prior to this, that they trusted us to take them to safety.
It's coming pretty soon.
Why don't you go with Grandpa and ride? Oh, your helmet is up at the house. Maybe you can tie Dolly in the arena and go and grab it. Your helmet was up from the house from the horse show. We went to a horse show over the weekend, and he showed and did very well, won a bunch of blue ribbons. So Jen helped me walk all of the horses down, and, one by one, 2 by 2, we walked them down for hours, and we got them all out. And we took them all down and came back, and, the storm at that point had stopped, and the water started to go down. I was just looking around.
In disbelief.
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. All of the footing inside my riding arena, which is where I teach my lessons, was washed away.
Aww.
And what had washed in the back door was rock and gravel and debris from in the creek.
God.
There was chunks of glass and jars and things just washing in.
Total disbelief.
Total disbelief. So I just stood here and I just cried. Because I thought that here I was. I had just quit my job. This was supposed to be my source of income. I mean, I do my drill weekend for the National Guard, but that's not enough of an income to live on.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that everything was gone. And I didn't know how I was going to get everything repaired. I didn't know I mean, footing itself is a couple of $1,000.
Aw.
Not to mention the equipment that washed away. I was watching buckets and supplies and tools wash
Go down
the road.
creek.
Yeah. I have a video where I was just videoing, and I was like, there goes a gas can. There goes a bucket.
Oh.
And it was just gone. So I kind of didn't know what to do. We got all the horses out, got them taken care of. It was late that night when we finally got it all done. And I got up the next morning, and there was a post on a Facebook page called Citizens of Bethel Park,
Oh.
looking for people that needed help.
Go Bethel Park.
And I posted that I needed help on Stoltz Road at my horse farm. And I posted some of the photos, and people started showing up.
Oh.
People that I'd never met before started pulling into my driveway
Oh.
with gloves and bags and shovels. And friends and family, they started showing up too. And then local restaurants started bringing us food.
Aw.
Vilka Bistro brought us lunch, I think the Thursday after the flood. Olive Oil Pizza brought us pizza, another donated 7 extra large pizzas for all the people that were here that weekend.
Yeah.
People started making donations. One of my students set up a GoFundMe account, and people started donating to help us rebuild. Other local barns in the area, local barns that technically are my competitors, started donating, and they're not.
When you need help.
And people started bringing us supplies and donations. One of the other barn owners that owns Sidmore Stables in 84 PA helped us get this footing donated, so we have new footing in my indoor riding arena.
Oh, my Lord.
And he brought us new bedding for the horses' stalls.
Oh, my Lord. You're kidding. How wonderful.
It was amazing. We had between 15 and 30 people here almost every day for a week and a half. And then there was a group that contacted me. They saw my story on the Citizens of Bethel Park page, and it's a locally founded group called the Blackhawk Family Relief Fund.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been doing a lot of outreach. And they found me, and they said that they had formed the group. The president contacted me, said that the group had been formed to help with some emergencies within the girls' lacrosse team a year or so ago at Bethel High School. And they had some funds left over, and they wanted to start raising more funds, and they offered to help me. And then as more people started pouring in, they started opening up their fundraising to a larger scale to help all of the residents in Bethel Park that have been affected by this flood. And it was just
I told you,
craziest thing.
if you start out bad,
It ends up good. And all of a sudden, people were here. People were helping me put everything back together.
Aw.
And then there was a fundraiser in the works. So then we did a fundraiser here last
That's
Friday.
my Bethel.
Yeah. What a community.
Yeah.
And we got our...
You got your helmet on.
You ready?
See this? He's got his helmet on.
What are you going to go do? Ride Dolly. Okay.
Yeah.
That boy, you know?
Yeah, I know. But he's just got the walk, too.
He's a cowboy, and
He's
he
a
knows
cowboy.
it. And people just showed up and helped us and put everything back together.
Aw.
And people brought food, people brought supplies, everything. It was crazy. We did a fundraiser here on Friday night.
So wonderful.
It was the craziest thing that I have ever seen in my entire life.
Well, I think at your age you need to see the goodness
Yeah.
in people.
You see all of the bad stories on
Yes,
the news, and the
that's all you
shootings,
do.
and the fights, and the...
Yeah.
And this
I
is the
think-
sort of thing that people need to see.
Yeah.
Is that, the community has come together for the people that lost their houses, for the people that lost their cars, for the people that lost their jobs and the businesses that were destroyed, and for the people like me, a small business owner at a family-owned and operated farm, came together to help me put everything back so that I could go back to making a living.
It's wonderful.
It has
It's
been.
my Bethel Park. I've lived here all my life, and it just seems like they just pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah. People that I've never met before.
Yeah,
Came
but
to
that's
help.
the beauty of it.
It was wonderful, and we're
Aw.
so grateful
Aw.
for the people and the donations and the food and the supplies that we've received.
And all the riders are going to come.
Oh, and we've had so many riders that have heard our story now and have begun signing up for riding lessons.
Aw.
And
Are you jealous? Huh? Say, yeah, I'm jealous. The baby's riding that horse.
they all love my son. He walks around and feeds them hay and treats all day.
I wonder why. Are you
So
jealous?
now we're here, and my barn's back together. We have the riding arena set up again.
And when are you going to start back?
My lessons start back officially tomorrow,
Aw.
Tuesday. So just shy of 2 weeks after the flood, we're going to be back to teaching again. You want to ride Dolly? Okay, go get Grandpa will help you.
Hug him to death, hug him to death. There he goes. So, do you need any more help, or are you looking for anything more? And the Tailwaggers maybe can get a message out there for you.
Well, what I'd like to do going forward is continue to build my lesson program. I teach students ages 2 and up. I start them really young.
Wow.
And we... There he comes with his pony.
The boss.
You got your pony? Yeah?
Is that your pony?
Ride Dolly? You want to ride Dolly? Well, what we really want to do going forward is I want to build up my lesson program again to go back to teaching full time, so that we can continue to help others make a difference.
Aww.
We had our fundraiser here last Friday, and we did some pony rides and some other stuff as sort of a fun family event, and we raised just over $800.
Wow.
And we just talked to the people at the Blackhawk Family Relief Fund this morning, and we decided that we want to donate half of what we raised at our fundraiser to the Blackhawk Family Relief Fund.
Oh, how sweet.
To help them help other people that were affected too.
Always give back.
So we're really, at this point, wanting to just build back up our lessons and, help support the efforts that everybody else is making to everybody else in the community. So I would really like to continue working with the Blackhawk Fund.
Wow.
And help them.
So now you're going to stay here forever
Yes.
and let your little one grow up and ride horses?
Yep. He actually went to a horse show this weekend. He's been showing since last summer. He started showing at 11 months old, believe it or not. And since he's been showing, he competes against some older kids. But this weekend, for the first
I'm
time,
gonna cry.
he actually won a class for the very first time this weekend.
I'm going to cry. Look at him just sitting right up, holding.
Yeah, he knows what to do.
Yeah. So now everybody in Bethel knows where to bring their kids if they want. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I take students at age 2. I teach English and Western riding lessons.
Yeah.
And I offer to all my kids the opportunity to compete on our horses at local shows.
Well, you get
too.
more Western than you do English.
I actually teach primarily English.
Really?
Yeah, I teach more English than Western, but I have competed at world and national levels,
Yeah.
English and Western.
Yeah.
We've won lots of state championships, world championships, national championships over the time that I've been riding.
Mm-hmm.
And I've ridden English and Western extensively. But
English.
I teach more English than I do Western, believe it or not.
That's amazing.
It's nice. I think that English gives you a really good seat. When you learn to ride English first, it really helps you become a very balanced rider. And I actually prefer riding English to Western.
Well, truth. Yeah, truth be known. Yeah. Then you can move in. Look at this. Oh. Well, guess what? It's time to go.
It's time to go already.
Already. Everybody always says that. Already. If there's anything special that you need help, say it now, and Bethel will hear it, and then you'll get it.
Well, like I said, we really just want to build up our lesson program and I want to make an impact on children's lives the same way that my mom did, and I want to support everybody else's efforts to put their lives back together after the flood.
Well, I sure am glad you decided to come back. And now you know that you can defeat anything.
Yeah.
Because you'll never be alone. There'll always be somebody there. And if you turn around and say, hey, I need help, somebody will be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. So I'm so glad that I got to come down. And
Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, in a minute. He's waving goodbye.
He's waving goodbye.
Yeah. So if you have any extra dollars, they really would be appreciated. I usually do not ask people for money, but this time I am. And I couldn't believe the story when she called me of what happened. So like always, give to your humane societies with sheets and towels and blankets, anything that isn't any good for the homeless, but common sense that would be nice for the kitty cats and dogs at the humane societies. And I love you, and thanks from all the Tailwaggers.
It's hot outside.
It is.